Hello, my name is Draft Raw, and if you've been following me or this is your first time ever seeing me, then I should tell you I've been doing a 32 for 32 series. That is 32 NFL team drafts for 32 straight days. Now, as you can tell by the title, this video will be about the Las Vegas Raiders draft. Now, to just give a quick rundown, I've already done the AFC North and the NFC North. I've already done the AFC and NFC East, and now I am in the West Coast. And I've already done the NFC West, and now I'm in the AFC West. Before I get started, I just want to say, for the Las Vegas Raiders, this was kind of a weird draft. The simple fact is that I didn't even know that y'all didn't have a pick after the 4th round. But without further ado, let's just get straight into it. With the very first pick for the Las Vegas Raiders, they selected wide receiver from Alabama, Henry Ruggs. Now, I just want to say I was a little bit surprised. I was surprised that he was the first receiver taken. No, I did not think he was the best receiver in this draft. I didn't think he was the second best. I didn't think he was the third best. I didn't think he was the fourth best. I didn't think he was the fifth best. I just want to say this. I didn't have him in my top 5. I'll just say this. He was in my top 10, but he definitely wasn't in my top 5. This reminds me a little bit of a couple of years ago when the Oakland Raiders drafted wide receiver from Maryland some years ago, over 10 years ago, Darius Hayward-Bay. Now, Hayward-Bay was a speed specialist, had only really 1 year production in Maryland, but that production vaulted him into the first round. Henry Ruggs is a guy that I wouldn't have drafted him in the first round. But I will say that he's not as bad as what I may be putting off, though. I'm not saying this is a bad pick, because if he turns out to be an all-pro, then I look like an idiot sitting here saying that, oh, he shouldn't have been the first receiver taken. But I will say this. If I was the Raiders, I would have selected Jerry Jeudy, personally. But I'm not. And I'm not a professional scout. I'm just a guy that looks on the computer, watches tape, and give my own analysis of what I think about a player. So with the Raiders, maybe they have a certain plan for him. Maybe he fits a certain system that they want to have. Maybe it's a situation of just putting more speed on the field, just like they have with the division rival, the Kansas City Chiefs. So Henry Ruggs, and what I wrote about him in my notes was that he was a super fast guy, not as quick in terms of he doesn't separate often. And he has solid hands. Now, what I mean when he doesn't separate often, the one con that's going to stick out between those 3 things that I wrote about him, is that I don't think he's as good as a route runner as to believe. I think that he's a solid route runner. I do think that he has some technique and skill set, that he has shown and be able to breaking off routes and stuff like that. But in terms of how fast he is, it doesn't translate into his route running ability. There's only one player recently, a football player playing in the NFL, that speed translates to his route running and quickness, and that is Tyreek Hill. There hasn't been a lot of guys that really translate as much in terms of speed and quickness put together. So it's a situation where Henry Ruggs is super duper fast, but I don't know how the translation of his route running is going to translate into that, especially if he goes up against more physical cornerbacks. How would he hold up? It carries a lot. And recently we've seen a guy like John Ross get drafted by the Bengals and not fare so well because of the physicality of the position. He's still got all the speed in the world, but for him to be a number 1 receiver, because when you draft a receiver that high, you expected him to be a type of number 1 receiver. I don't think Henry Ruggs has that. But I'm not going to bash the pick too much. Now, going to that next pick, people were surprised that they picked Damon Arnett, cornerback from Ohio State. People were surprised. And they're sitting there saying that was a reach, right? I want to tell you that was not a reach. This guy is the best cover corner in this draft class. The only thing he needs to work on, because he's also a good tackler, the only thing that he needs to work on is finding the football or / getting more interceptions. I think he finds the football pretty well. That's just basically, covering the receiver and you're able to just turn your head back and knock the pass down. I think he does that pretty well. But he needs to get more interceptions. I think that the lack of interceptions from him will make him into like a Quentin Jammer type, where he's a pretty good corner in this league, like Quentin Jammer was, who he played for the Chargers. Raiders fans should know who Quentin Jammer is. But he was never going to be a all-pro Pro Bowler because he didn't get the turnovers. Same thing with Ike Taylor. Wasn't a consistent all-pro Pro Bowler type of guy. And those two corners were some of the best corners in the early 2000s. They were some of the best corners we've seen early and mid-2000s. But the lack of interceptions really hurts them. It hurts their career in terms of being considered, really being considered one of the best, because the guys get the turnovers, get the more hoopla. The Marcus Peters, Jalen Ramsey, freaking Darrell Reeves, Richard Sherman, Josh Norman for at least 1 year. He was getting those interceptions, but you see where I'm getting at. It's one of those things where if he would get more picks, he would have probably been higher. And the biggest thing was that it was the character concerns and the reason why he wasn't one of the higher rated corners. But to me, he was one of the higher rated corners. He just didn't get the interceptions. One of the best cover guys we've seen. So with the very next pick, they decided to select a guy that I can't really talk about too much in terms of Lynn Bowden Jr., quarterback, wide receiver from Kentucky. And the reason why it's kind of hard is because, I can look at the 2018 tape and watch how solid he is as a receiver, but he's not great. But what he does bring is possibly an ability to be a kick returner or a punt returner. And then also gives you the ability to kind of, like a Mohamed Sanu, be able to throw the football down the field. And he's not like a great thrower of the football. He's okay. He's pretty solid. He's all right. But it's kind of hard to judge him because he was playing quarterback this year and he was running with the football. I'm not sure if it's going to be a switch situation where he's going to actually be a running back and not a receiver. I think I heard Roger Goodell announce him as a running back. I'm not sure. If you can at least, comment in the comment section to at least correct me if I'm wrong about that. But if he is going to be a running back, I think this is a solid pick. It's not like a great pick. I think that he can be explosive because he does have that subtle quickness that's similar to Lamar Jackson. He's not as fast as Lamar Jackson, nor is he as quick. Lamar's acceleration is crazy. But he brings that type of style to where putting him at running back, getting the ball in his hands could be something really, really special. And the simple fact is that he played receiver, knowing that he actually has pretty solid hands, also adds value as to him going out there on third down and even spelling a guy like Josh Jacobs to be that third down guy to catch passes and be able to get down the field and make big plays and first downs and touchdowns and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's all I'm going to say. With the very next pick in the third round, y'all decided to double dip at the receiver position. And y'all selected Bryan Edwards. Actually triple dip because y'all selected Henry Ruggs. But Bryan Edwards, wide receiver from South Carolina, reminded me of Deebo Samuel, who came out last year, who also played at South Carolina. Also reminded me a little bit of like an Anquan Boldin. And I hate using the Anquan Boldin comparison, but Anquan Boldin set a different standard in terms of being a receiver. He's a big, tough yak guy, which is mean yards after the catch, or a rat guy, which is mean running after the catch, even run after contact, the yards after contact, being able to catch the football and just get those extra yardage and not catch the football and get tackled. He has really good hands and he beats press really, really easily. This is a big physical receiver. I think he's about 6'3", 6'4", 220 pounds. He's going to bring something to the position. I actually thought that Bryan Edwards was one of the most underrated receivers in this draft. And the biggest problem is that he got hurt this year and couldn't really show off. If he didn't get hurt, I think that he probably would have been maybe he probably would have still got selected in the third round, but to me, I almost even think he probably could have been selected higher in the draft. I think that he's a really, really good receiver that just was unfortunate this year. And I think that he would have showed, if he was healthy, he would have showed that he was one of the better receivers in this draft class. With the very next pick, y'all decided to select safety linebacker Tanner Muse. It's kind of hard to judge him. I mean, he looks like he plays safety that looks like he should switch to linebacker. That's all I can really say about him. I didn't think he attacked the line of scrimmage often and as hard while he's playing the safety position, so it'd be kind of like a toss-up of what he could be and where he's at. I think that he's just a solid player. He probably, I mean, Mike Mayock likes picking smart players as well, so he probably has some good smartness in terms of smartness is not a word, I know that. But just, I don't want to say instinctual because I didn't think he had a lot of instincts on the football field. But maybe his football IQ, being able to, maybe he was able to recognize certain things and call out certain stuff. I'm not sure exactly, but I know that he's a guy that he's going to have to make a transition. And I can't really say much else about him because that transition is something that I couldn't really see while watching. Just accept the fact that, you know, he needed to possibly make the switch to play linebacker, and it may help out in his career just because he is a guy that used to play safety and be able to cover tight ends and even slot receivers at his position, especially when he did play safety. That's what he basically did, and he wasn't that bad at doing it. So this is something that he's already used to, and if he comes down to play linebacker, it's a situation where now you have that versatility of a guy that you could put out there that you could say, hey, take away this certain player, whether slot receiver or tight end, and he should be able to do it in a somewhat whatever. Y'all know what I'm trying to say. I lost my words there. Whatever. With the very next pick, y'all decided to select offensive guard from Clemson, another Clemson guy, John Simpson. He's big, tough, strong. He needs to improve his feet. Can't handle quickness. Those are the three things I wrote about him. I don't try to put too much emphasis on certain stuff when I'm scouting guys, when in terms of, oh, well, he sets his feet this way and, you know, his arm length. And I don't try to get into all that different stuff. I try to make it more relatable to people who do watch football but don't know the nuances of certain stuff. You know, just give them something that actually could make sense. Sorry about that. Just got a little notification on my phone about YouTube. So, but he's a solid pick for the Oakland Raiders, especially if they're trying to. I believe are they replacing somebody? Well, even if they're not, it's a still solid pick that I think he could still possibly be a starter with some good coaching up, but maybe not this year because of the coronavirus and, you know, getting these guys into camp and being able to start working and getting, you know, ahead of the game or whatever. But he's still a good solid pick for the I'm about to say Oakland, for the Las Vegas Raiders, and maybe within a year or two he should be able to give you starting ability. And then with the very last pick, this is one of my favorite players in the draft, and that's Amik Robertson from Louisiana Tech. He's small but plays big. He's not afraid to get physical. Ball skills is tremendous, and he's a big-time playmaker. His ball skills is like he has the best ball skills in this draft. And if the Oakland Raiders was looking for a guy to basically get turnovers, unlike Damon Arnett, because it's kind of like opposite of each other, to get the turnovers that they're going to desperately want and need, this guy is an absolute beast. And there's a possibility. I think he does have the possibility to switch to safety in terms of a free safety and play in that position and be a playmaker and had those ball skills at the safety position. But I do think he is suited as a corner. I do think he's just strictly a corner, but I think he does have the ability to possibly drop back to play safety. It may not be for his best skill set, but it's something that, you know, he's a big gambler, so it's something that could work out. The way that he just needs to get the instinct IQ stuff, you know, honed down, and he could literally be the next Ed Reed with the type of skill set he has, because he has good hands and he has good return ability and all of that. So I would just say I really, really love the pick of Amik Robertson. Anyway, that was the last player drafted by the Las Vegas Raiders in the 2020 draft. If you want to know about more videos in the past or future, look in the description box below. If you like this video, hit that like button. Please subscribe and please share. And hit that notification button. And where it says personalize and all, hit all. Make sure you hit all so you get all notifications of Draft Raw. Once again, my name is Draft Raw. I thank anybody for watching. Goodbye.